Okay, so here I have some different thicknesses of foam. This is just craft foam from Hobby Lobby. And you can see here, these are some, it's Silly Winks foam. Some sticky backed kind, because, you know, I thought, why not experiment with it? And this stuff is quite thin. Now here we have some more, and these were 89 cents for a small sheet. Now for the same price, you can get a larger sheet, also 89 cents, but it's not sticky on the back. And these are 12 by 18, and it's 2 millimeters thick. And now here we have some in a kind of medium thickness. It looks like 3 millimeters, and also a 12 by 18 sheet. And then here we have some 5 millimeter in 12 by 18 inches. But yeah, some nice little 5 millimeter. And then here I have, and all of those I got from Hobby Lobby. Here I have a piece of old EVA foam that's been out on the porch for God knows how long. That is 10 millimeters thick, roughly. And those I get from like Walmart or Home Depot. You might be able to find them on Amazon if they might have, like, somebody might have a shipping deal or something. But I'm going to get started on this crown. And here I have a very nice little box set that Randy got me for my birthday of sharp things. Oh, like sharp things. And I actually haven't used it yet. He got these for me specifically for getting into foam crafting. So you can see it has a bunch of different knife options, like blade options. Super cool. And what's really neat about them is they just magnet in. And it also has an awl. That's super neat. And I'm missing one. There you are. It has 2 awls. So I think I'm going to use this guy. I like the look of him. So, and you could use just a regular craft knife or box knife as well. But I figure for as much as I teach, it'll be really nice to have enough to share. I'm going to do the base. Now, we designed earlier, I heard back from the client, he loves it except for he doesn't want this side piece added. So I'm going to do the base out of my nice thick foam, my 5 millimeter. Pull this off. And it's super nice to be able to go and get this stuff when it's on sale. Because, I mean, can you imagine if they did like half off? Super nice. I'm going to be using just a red Sharpie. Silver would show up better, but red is what I have. And I'm going to make sure it fits. And I'm just going to come through and mark around the edge of our template. And then I'm going to flip it over because I want this to be symmetrical. And I'm going to line this up as best as I can with the lines that are already there. Yeah, and I can tell this was not very symmetrical to start with. But lining it up as best I can. There we go. And you can see that red showed up, I mean, just a little bit. Yeah, shows up just a little bit. And so I'm going to come through on my cutting mat with my little craft blade. So excited, guys. This will be my first time cutting my own foam. And this goes through this like butter. Oh my gosh. And I just want to get this detached from my main piece. That way I'm not using such a large clunky piece. I've got a little bit of fraying here on the edges that I don't like, but I'll see what I can do to sand or bevel that down. So it's become clear to me then it's important to push just a little harder maybe, just to make absolute certain that you do get through on that first cut. That way you're not going through and doing a second cut and fudging it up. So there's our base. Just like that. And now, and I'm going to be saving every single little bit of my scraps because I don't know when something might come in handy. And I'm going to go through with a 5mm, not a 5mm, a 3mm, I'm sorry. And I'm going to cut out our nose piece. So let me go ahead and get the detail cuts done on this. Which now this is something that I'm actually going to fold it right down the middle. And I want to make sure that it's symmetrical. Because especially on the face, symmetry is super important because people will notice, you know, they might not notice so much if one bracer doesn't perfectly match the other bracer, but they'll notice if one, you know, side is higher than the other, or lower than, or what have you, you know, if it's right there square between your eyes. So I'm going to come through with my red Sharpie again. And again, this is on my 3mm foam. I'm going to fold this side in half, again, making sure it's going to be symmetrical. And I don't hesitate a bit to shave just a little off of both sides, just to make sure. Okay, so now we've got this piece, and we have this piece. Ooh, I might do it like that. Where it sits over it like that. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how this evolves. I'm not going to do any cutting on anything yet. I have my Dremel set up. This one is actually a Dremel. I also have like some different rotary tools and stuff. I didn't think this one was charged, but it was. It has this super nice recharging stand. Totally worth the investment. And adjustable variable speed. Gonna do, need 4 of them. Here's one. And I think I'm going to do a 5th one just for good measure. It's nice to have one be like, oh, I messed that up, you know, kind of stuff. So there we go. Oops. Messed that one up, just like that. So I'm going to heat up my hot knife, and I'll meet y'all right back here. So here you can see that we have some examples of them being cut out. This is after it's been cut out with the hot knife. This is after the edges have been Dremeled, and then this is after it's been sanded. Well, let me flip this one over. Okay, that's a much more accurate representation because that's the side that's facing down. So, just cut, just Dremeled, sanded. So, I'm going to come in here. We have our little, our circle cut out. I just cut them out with scissors. And I'm going to come through. And I use the table to set it down on. Let me move this camera just a hair so that y'all can get, hopefully, a better view and understanding of what's going on. So I just set it on the table. That way I have something very sturdy to brace it on. And I insert the knife. And then I start just slicing and rolling. So I'm keeping the knife in a downward motion, but as I roll it, it continues to cut through. Just like that. Then I just pop it out. And that's the way that I've found to get a much smoother inner circle. At least for circles. I'm sure it'd be different with different shapes. So very carefully, because I keep that kind of just there and hot. I am now going to come through with my Dremel. I just have a cone rock tip, like stone tip. And set at about 5 is my speed. Find what's comfortable for you. And this is kind of what I like about using a contrasting color Sharpie, is it helps me to be consistent about shaping it down until all the Sharpie is gone. Almost using it as a guideline to Dremel against. And I'm trying to do more than just a flat Dremel, like a flat bevel on the side. I'm trying to round it into the front and into the side. So now around the middle. Now here I have to be careful, because if I come over too much, it cuts into it, just like how it did there. And I'm going to flip it over. And even though this side's going to be facing down, I'm still just going to Dremel it just a bit, because it makes me happy. Just to get that edge clean just a little bit. And another perk to having cut out 5 of these little donuts is I've improved a whole lot since my first one. So I'm going to go ahead and do all 5 and then just pick out the 4 best looking. Okay, so that's it. Sanded. Well, Dremeled, sorry. And now for sanding, I have this piece of cardboard that I just hot glued some 400 grit sandpaper to. And I'm just going to come through, and I'm using it like a great big emery board. Oop. Just kind of gliding and curving that along, evening out the surface. And then for the inside, what I've done is I have a piece of 1/2-inch PVC pipe, thin-walled, with the same 400 grit sandpaper, just, hot glued around it. And then I'm just going to sand like that. And you can see here, I need better lighting, clearly, but how that's starting to look. And I'm just kind of rotating the donut in my hand to get to different surfaces. And you can see here too, I'm also controlling with this hand which way the pressure is going. And I preferred a much longer handle on it. It takes up a little bit of space, but it gives me a lot more leverage. And so now that's pretty nice and smooth. I'm pretty pleased with that. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to do those last steps to these ones over here. And so again, you can see the difference between sanded and not sanded. So I'm gonna do these, and also I'm saving the little cores from them. Super useful, I'm sure, for something. So I'm gonna do this and I'll meet y'all right back over here. I have dremeled and sanded all 5 of these. This one's probably the worst, so I'm gonna set it off to the side. There's no telling what I might be able to use it for, you know, something else in the future. But now I'm going to go through and do some edge finishing on these pieces. Because see how it has this like sharp edge? It's just like whenever I'm doing leather working, I want a nice beveled edge. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to bevel these guys' edges. Okay, so here you can see on this side, it's been edge beveled. On this side, it has not. So, if the camera will focus. No beveling, beveling. Super subtle difference, but it's way more there in person too. So now I'm just going to repeat this on the other side, and I'm going to go through on all 3 pieces. And then when I meet you all back here next, be super careful to not do that too much. When I meet you back here next, sorry, you can see my tip slipped and it kind of cut into it just a little. I'm going to try to keep that from happening as much as I can. But when I meet you back here next, I'm going to be actually developing the pattern for the horns. So I'll see y'all here shortly. Okay, so I got the edges beveled, and the best way that I have found for me to determine which side's going to be the front and which side's going to be the back is which side has more mess ups on it. Because there's this thing that keeps happening that like the Dremel will like drag itself back over to the back side. Like whenever I get to the end, it'll like come around and do little lines like that. I know it does not look like much, but I don't know how it'll translate into reality. You know, translate after all the finishing and everything. That one's much more visible on camera than the other ones were. But so this side's going to be the back side because there's quite a few of those that happened. Whereas this side looks kind of nice. So I have those pieces done. So that's going to sit like that. So now, since this side, well, it's messed up in a couple of spots, never mind. But, you know, if it's only one spot that's messed up, then see what's going to be covered, and what's, you know, not going to be covered and stuff. Oops. So, the circumference of the inside of this is 1 inch, so I think it's going to be a little over 3 inches around. Or the diameter is about 1 inch. So I think the circumference is going to be 3 inches around. I don't know if I said the right words. So then what I'm going to do is do like 1, 2, 3 right there. And I think I want it to be the 1.5 inch mark. There's center. The center horns are longer than the back 2 horns. Maybe. So I'm going to do these ones at 6 inches. no, the back horns are longer than the front and center. So I'm going to do the front and center at 6 inches, and then I'm going to do the back ones at 8 inches. So from there, I'm going to connect the ends. Now, I've never designed a horn before, so I hope this works. And I think what I'm going to do is make this side curved. That way it'll have a tendency to lean back. So now I'm going to cut this out real quick and see how it folds up. Cutting a little base off. So it almost looks like a partially eaten ice cream cone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of roll it gently. Up and around. And I'm just trying to get this to have a nice natural tendency on its own to want to, I'm breaking up the paper, the fibers of it, trying to get it to want to no longer be flat. Okay, so that worked a little bit, wrapping it around a piece of paper. Okay. I'm wondering what I could have done differently with the shape. Maybe made it bolder up at the tip. But we'll see how this happens. Because I don't want them to just be hollow, you know, on the side. And they can be much larger. Because you can see here. Yeah, it's almost got another inch, at least a 3/4 of an inch worth of space. And the way that this would sit, it'd be kind of going in the right direction. So let's make one a little bit wider. I'm going to bring this around that way I don't have to cut another line. By about that much. So right there. But I want to keep the same angle. So I'm just moving this over. So now it's going to be like 1 inch at the tip to see if that closes up the back side. Moving this to the center. Bringing it out by almost just, 3 or 4 millimeters. Again, keeping just that slight cone shape. And what this is doing is it's offsetting it a little bit in one direction. Pencil, and I'm going to roll this back up. I'll probably do something very similar to the foam to try to get it to naturally want to come into this shape on its own. here we are. And so this way, yes, I think that'll work much better. Okay, let me do a quick sketch of the shape of this, just in case it turns out to be perfect. That way we can cut out another template that will be used onto the foam. Okay, and now I'm going to use some tape. Let me go grab some tape. Okay, so I'm just using some masking tape here. I'm going to tape up the seam of this. And I'm just snipping some and putting it along the edge of my desk. So I'm going to join the top first. Having something that's conical to put this around would probably really help, but we'll see. So I'm going to use the end of this Sharpie. Too big. Okay. So I'm just lining it up, seam to seam, and wrapping this tape around, because I feel like almost like we can round it after the fact. So it's almost bent in half, like folded over on itself. Then with the tape. Okay, and now we can put the pencil up in there and get that to open up just a bit. And we might be able to shape that down. Gonna do another little piece of tape. Just like that. Folding it over. What we'll probably do here is maybe hot glue the seam of the foam together. And we'll kind of see how that behaves. Now I think that looks like a pretty good cone. And with a little bit more overlapping, I think it would fit very well into our base. So what I have decided on is I tried, oh, where did it even go? Dremeling down, and I really didn't like the way that that looked. Like, I wanted to keep the nice, even, the same distance around. So yay for having made an extra one. But what I ended up doing is cutting into this part, then bringing that down like this. And then I'm going to extend a little bit of a tab right here, as well as glue a piece on the inside of this and to come underneath it. That way it'll hold it nice and stable. So I tried to rip the page out of my sketchbook, and it completely ripped the whole page. So right through my thing. So I'm just gonna come through and we'll snip this again. And I'm going to redraw it again, this time with that notch in either side. and with a little extension off the tip. And we're gonna see what happens whenever we round that off too, just for giggles. Sorry, I've got an old itchy spot from an allergic reaction to eating some mangoes. Okay. And bring this down. So that shape has really evolved quite a bit from our original mostly eaten ice cream cone. You know? I'm just gonna do, cutting out that little bit. And cutting out that little bit from either side. And now, moment of truth, I guess. Let's go ahead and make this. I think I want to make it out of our super thin, like 2mm sticky back. Would that be cool? No, I'm not going to do the sticky back, because then if I mess up, it's just going to be stuck to itself forever. But I am going to use the 2mm. So here we have these. I'm going to set those kind of off to the side. Get everything out of the way. Now the only problem with my hot knife is it will melt through my cutting mat also. So there is that. So I'm going to position this so that I don't have to cut along this edge. And just following along the edge. And I'm just going to come up the edge, bring it around, and now I'm actually going to flip this and come the other way, sharing as much of this edge as I can. Yeah, there's no sense in not having them be mirror imaged just in case there's some variation. When you're looking for symmetry, this is a good idea. Because you don't want two left hands, you know. Sorry, didn't realize I'd gone off camera a bit. There we go. So I've got my stone. Now I'm just going to cut straight across right there. And now I'll come in and cut out there we go. Super good. And next. Forgot to round off the tip. And make sure this staple gets out of the way. And I prefer to cut towards myself because I feel like it gives me a little bit more control. But I'm not really worried either about like it sliding off and getting me in the, you know, stabbing myself. I'm pretty sure I'll be fine. So there's that. And there's that. And now I'm actually going to use scissors for the tip because I feel like it gives me a little bit more control over doing those curves. So here we are, guys. Whew. Here are our horns. And I am going to glue and assemble them. I'm at least going to get them curved and glued up the backside before before painting. So I don't want to Dremel these parts because I want as much surface area as I can get to join them, but I am going to come through and Dremel out the sides here. Okay, now I'm going to glue up the seam on this one first because how it's kind of messed up right there. Because this way, if it completely ruins it, it's not my nicer one. So here I have a glue gun heated up and ready to go. And I'm actually just going to do a seam up the side. There we go. And I completely forgot to roll this one around first. But we'll see what we can do. I'm just bringing the ends together, making them meet. Yeah, they don't want to seam up very well, do they? Bring it down on the other side this time. Just all over my fingers and everything. I just want to get it to stick together. Okay, so now I'm going to do just a little bit here at the tip. Getting my fingers plenty wet and globbing it up and holding it. So there, that brings it together. Just like that. It's not a bad horn shape. Very straight, just like in the reference image. I'm reinforcing with another layer of hot glue. Get my fingers nice and wet. I'm kind of training this down and smoothing it just as much as I can. because I'm going to be encasing this thing in wood glue to try to get it nice and hard and stiff. So hopefully that'll work out pretty well. Okay, now for the strap that I'm putting in it, here's my little segment. Here's my little blob of glue. Pushing it up inside. So now that'll give me something that I can, it'll come over. And under. And just around like that. And that's how they'll sit. Oh my gosh. Hey Randy, do you want to look at this?
Mm-hmm.
Come check it. Like, these are the two separate pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. It's glued up the back. And I mean, it looks pretty rough right now, but I'm going to be working on that. It just slides right in through here. Into that crevice.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to wrap around the back.
Okay.
Do you think that looks good?
Possibly, yeah.
Do you think we should have it be a little bit more, like, I'm thinking about heating it up and bulging it out.
Okay.
Like, do you think that would look cool?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
That's good.
You seem hesitant.
It's good. I'm sure it'll look good on the crown itself.
Yeah.
It's just, this part seems a little bulky in comparison to right there, like that crevice.
That drop down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a way you can take another piece of foam and kind of like layer it?
Let me see. I might be able to like fill it in some.
Okay.
I don't know, but I see what you're saying. Like, that's the part I'm least pleased about as well.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, it looks really, really, really good.
Do you think dremeling it down to more of an angle?
Maybe.
What if I dremeled from the underside so it sat flusher?
Possibly.
How would that work? I mean, it still just has that seam there.
Mm-hmm. That looks fine.
Okay. I'll send it to the client and see what he thinks.
There you go.
I've gone through and I've done up the seams on the backs, and I think I'm just going to be happy with how this comes out. Like, it'll be a repeated element, so instead of trying to gunk it up and fill in that gap, I'm just gonna, kind of let it happen. But now I've run into a problem of kind of funky hot glue seams have become a thing that's happening. So, adding in a new glue stick, just like that. And I'm just layering on another layer of the hot glue, and I'm smoothing it down with my finger. But you can see this is totally like all wonky and bubbly and stuff, and the folks that I have asked have highly recommended to me that I just use barge cement, like barge contact cement. And while I think that would be great if I had some, I do not currently. And also, I needed something that dried like pretty immediately. Um, and so LaRuin Cosplay, my friend Lauren, who's super good with foam, said that she has seen other folks use like the tip of the hot glue gun to kind of melt it and even it out. And so I went one step further and tried using the shaft of my wood burner because I thought this would do it a little faster. And so, I mean, it's smoking, and that's not like the best thing. But I am just going to take it and kind of blend out the sides a little bit. And just kind of melt and spread it down, like just evening it out just a bit. Just kind of spreading and smoothing. And so now from there, I'm still going to take it and kind of spread and smooth it down. And I'm hoping that by doing that on the edges, don't put your hand back on it. Since it heats it up to even hotter, it takes a while for it to cool back down. A little longer than what it normally would. And so I'm hoping that doing this will kind of help it to kind of spread. And I'm actually using the blade here to kind of, treat it almost like a butter knife. And kind of spread and smush this line out. And then also, fortunately, this will be on the back side, but I'd like to avoid making it super goopy weird, if at all possible. So there's that one. And so now from this side, and I've cut out the 10-inch horns. So you can see here, that's the template that I used compared to the template that I used. Just made it a little bit longer. And I'm going to come through. I'm just going to do that number. Now both of these guys are already fed through their little donuts. So this guy's going to get fed through his donut. But he needs a little strip to help him attach. There's that one. There's that one. So here's my two little strips. Just a glob of hot glue. And I'm going to take that and I'm just going to smush, put it up in the underside right here. Okay, so for this one, this is the side that I've beveled, so this is going to be my inside. So I'm going to kind of just roll it. And I want to do this to make joining the ends a little bit easier. Because if you have them already inclined to lean towards each other, then we're not going to end up with this problem as much where it's like the ends, you want them like that. I hope that makes sense. And I hope the sound effects help. Okay, so there's that. So yeah, now when we bring the seams together, it's just right there. Just pressing the ends together as quick as we can before the glue starts to set. There we go. Just putting a bit in the tip here. And just squeezing the excess out the ends. So here I'm just putting it on, then smoothing it down as best as I can. The better you smooth it down now before it starts to get hard and set, the better luck you're going to have getting it smoothed out after it's all said and done. Wanting those ends to come together all nice. So I'm pushing up from the back side, just laying it down, and then once I get the wood glue around this, it's going to stop trying to pull apart as much because it'll stay nice and stiff, hopefully. Okay, so there we are. Now I'm going to take this.
I was justified.
Sorry. I'm watching my friend on Twitch and the sound came back on. I've got her muted while I record. Okay, so there we are. So now my next step, I guess, is going to be, nope, I gotta glue this little piece in. slide this piece up right in there and just smoosh it on down. And that gives us something to attach it to as we keep going. So my next step, I believe, is going to be to spray these pieces with Plasti Dip. Well, actually, let me grab them and show you. Where'd my Plasti Dip go? There it is. Hiding behind my aloe vera plant. Okay, so here I have craft foam primer, and here I have Plasti Dip. So I think on this piece I'm going to use the craft foam primer because the project is going to end up being painted a very, very vibrant blue, and I think a white underpainting will behoove itself better than is this clear, or it says peelable, flexible, insulates, grip, durable, assorted colors. I think this one's black because the cap is black. Doesn't really say. Yeah, comes in red, clear, white, and black. So this one's black. So I think I'm going to use the Krylon white craft foam primer. And it says fast dry. So I'm going to go do this outside and then I'll be right back. So here I have my heat gun and I've separated out my pieces. And to keep from warping and damaging my work surface, I have a little marble turret plate thing that I got at a secondhand store. And so now I can just sit my stuff on there and I'm just going to knock it up to high and heat seal it. And I'll show you a pretty nice before and after. Let me see if I can't get a tighter camera angle. There we go. Okay. That's a good way of cleaning up. So now you can see the difference between heat treated, not heat treated. It kind of darkens it down a bit and it closes those pores so it's not gonna suck in the paint as much. So I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna keep doing this to all my pieces. Now this is still, it's good. And that's something you'll need to be careful of, to watch out, is the hot glue will heat right back up. You can see it'll kind of curl a bit. And so while it's kind of warm, I'm just placing my finger in it and I'm going to bend it around like this. Just pushing here and pushing here. And you can see that gave me a little bit, just a little bit of a curved shape, and I'm so pleased with that. So let me heat it back up and see if I can't give it a little bit more of a curve. So again, just putting my finger in and kind of gently getting a nice curve all the way around. And what's happening is as these foam fibers are softened, I'm going to stretch them and contract them. And I'm just blowing on it to let it cool a little faster. Hopefully, in theory. So then whenever you let go of it, and it stays just like that. Ah, that's so much better. Hey Randy, look it. Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, let's do the next one. Now, and also I'm going to set these far enough aside that they're not going to get reheated and start to come out of their shape. Starting with the back side. Heating up my hot glue just to kind of smooth it down and redistribute it just a little bit more. And I'm going to heat seal the front. Wow. Yeah, that hot glue really heats back up pretty quickly. So while it's still warm, I'm going to go ahead and encourage that curve without pinching and dimpling the back. I want the back to stay nice and 3D, not like a pinched pipe, if that makes sense. So you make sure that that curve is the same. I feel like I could heat it up and curve it again. You can almost curve it just a little bit more than even what you think you need. That way when it relaxes, it comes back to its shape. Oh, and that's what I was trying to avoid. You don't want to bend it until it breaks. Or buckles, rather. Okay, so that's looking pretty similar. I think this is as close as I'm going to get it. I'm going to heat treat this real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and heat treat on both sides. I don't want there to be any risk of, I don't know, inconsistency. I'm doing it just enough until the little edges curl. See how as it cools, it's starting to curl up some? That will help it hug to the face. That gives it such a nice domed effect. Super pleased with that. I'm going to try to avoid that happening on this piece though. just enough to darken it. Yeah, there it goes anyways. The best laid plans of mice and cosplayers. But you can still take it and kind of gently flatten it back out. So now I'm going to heat seal the 5mm. That's looking nice. And now here we are with our large horns. Heat seal the back. Come on around. It's almost going ahead and curling up just on its own. Resetting that hot glue. Here, insert my finger just as far as I can. And again, try to keep a nice curve in it. So I'm actually pulling and dragging just a bit. Just a little bit of a tug there across the front. I think will give us a nice back curve. I'm actually kind of pinching and pulling to get a little bit more of that curve there along the back, and I think that worked out pretty nice. Check that out compared to that. So it's not so bad, I don't think. So let's go ahead and do this other one. I'm going to try to fix up this hot glue just a bit. It's a mess. And it seems inconsolable. It's just going to stay a mess. So I guess this is life now. Okay, so considering this is life now, let's go ahead and try to fix up the front. I really like that kind of pinch and pull. Pinch and pull. It's going to bring that around real nice. All the way down across the front. And then we can just kind of relax that pinch out of it. Okay, so those are looking pretty identical as well. So now the next step is to go outside, and I'm going to use Craft Foam Primer in white. Oh, it's super dark out here, so I have a headlamp on. But it says to allow 24 hours in between start painting. Recoat primer 2 hours. Recoat primer before 2 hours, but after 48 hours. Allow a minimum of 24 hours to 48 hours for paint to fully cure before applying paint top coat. Okay, so I should be able to paint it before too long. Adhesion. So I think I have to wait 2 hours. Let's see. You can see all those particulates. Okay. I don't know if you can see all of this. This is why you wear a respirator, guys. This is why you do it in a well-ventilated area. Okay. So I'm going to leave this to dry for 2 hours or so. And then I'll meet you right back in there for doing a paint job. So I'll see y'all before too long.